Hey, Hype Squad, I want to drop something special on you. We have planned the 5th Annual International Women's Day celebration. Save the date. It's going to be Friday, March 7th, right here in Myrtle Beach. This year, we have space for 50 expo vendors. If you're a women-owned business and you want to promote your business, your products, we want you to be there in the room with us. Reach out at hello@hypegirl.us. Tables are on a first-come, first-served basis. Don't wait. Reach out today, and we cannot wait to see you there.
This episode is powered by Hype Girl. You can find them at hypegirl.us. Hype Girl is an amazing company that helps women all over the country locate other women just like them by community events and also finding ways to express your passions out in the world and be more of who you are because the world needs your magic.
So everyone has kind of a pet peeve in life, and you have said that yours is...
There's a whole bunch, but that one is in particular, I don't like it.
So close your ears. So Jenny does not like the word cooter.
Ugh.
My biggest pet peeve is when people sneeze. That's so ridiculous, but it literally enrages me. I hate it.
Break a one. Might be crazy, but I ain't dumb. Crazy cooter coming at you. Anybody home on the hazard net?
Welcome to the Do It Ugly podcast. Here are your hosts, Stacy Lyon and Jenny King.
Okay, we're slap happy on a Friday back in the studio.
Hey, Jenny King, guess what today is?
What's today?
Today is episode 1, season 2.
Very exciting. And you know what else today is?
What?
Today is the very first time that we've ever recorded in our own studio.
Yeah, it is.
Which is so exciting.
We have Hype Girl worldwide headquarters right here.
We are. We're
and
official.
You know why we say worldwide? Because we are now not only in one, but we are in 2 countries, y'all.
We are in 2 countries. Thank you to everybody. First of all, okay, like when we thought this idea up doing this podcast, we were like, I don't think anybody's going to want to follow this nonsense. But you ladies are so amazing. And yes, we've had listeners from multiple countries, states all over the United States. And
all over?
I don't know how
it's exciting.
It is exciting, but it's also a little unnerving because now I feel some pressure to say like some really smart.
Because our weirdness is now gone international. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know if the world is ready for you and I.
I'm not sure if they are either, but we're here.
We are here. And I don't really know what we're talking about today. What are we talking about today? Do we have a topic?
So I went back and listened to season 1, and I jotted down notes from all the times that we said that's a topic for another podcast. Ooh. Because maybe Mike should be dinging us on that as well, because we say that a lot.
Okay.
So one of the things that we said most often that we were going to come back and talk about is the power of gratitude.
Ooh, I like that.
So what do you think about talking about that today?
I love the idea of talking about gratitude because I am not being facetious or kidding in any way when I tell you that gratitude practice saved my life at one point and saved my marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense. Tell me more about that.
It is intense. My daughter's going to be 12 this year, and she was such an unexpected divine surprise. Like, my husband and I had never planned for children. We were going to be dinks. You know what a dink is?
I do. Dual income, no children, no kids.
Double income, no kids. And we were going to travel the world. And, you know, that was really kind of going to be our thing. And my brother was going to have all the kids because he wanted a ton of kids. He wanted a gaggle of geese. And then he passed away in 2008. And after that, Sophie was born in 2012. And she was such a gift from God because we had never planned for kids. But with that came postpartum, and postpartum was not something that I was prepared for.
Yeah, so many people, I think, are not prepared for it. You were not alone in that.
I mean, I had never even heard anybody mention it. Like,
Same.
It was not anything I had ever heard. I'd never heard the term. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have a ton of mom friends at the time. So, and quite honestly, I was kind of a snob about motherhood. Like, I was like, ugh, that'll never be me. But yeah, so after she was born, and my postpartum wasn't like a lot of other mothers where it was like, I want her back in my belly. I miss being pregnant. It was none of that. It was like, it was a true deep depression. It was like standing on the outside of my body, watching myself go crazy. So it was the combination of prayer, yoga, and an intense gratitude practice that helped pull my head up and finally helped me refocus on what was important and truly, truly got me to a place where I could feel like I wanted to exist.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. And I'm so
Yes.
glad that it worked and that you're here with us today.
Thank you. And it's not that I ever thought about taking my life. It wasn't that. It was just literally feeling like I was living at the bottom of the barrel. Gratitude was intense and intentional in that time, and it made a difference. But I also said that it saved my marriage, and it did, because, if you've been married for any length of time, marriages are not easy, and you go through these different periods of time. And there was one where my husband and I, we just coexisted. I didn't want to look at him, didn't want to touch him, didn't want him to touch me. And I had somebody call me out on it and say, if you want to save your marriage, what you have to do is do a gratitude practice. And I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, but how about you? How has gratitude served you in your life?
I can't remember when I started the practice. There wasn't a defining moment for me like there was with you. It's just something that I started, I'm going to guess, back in my 20s when I went through a self-discovery, but also a reinvention of myself.
Okay.
Because there were some things that I didn't like about myself, some bad habits, some bad things that I wanted to lose, and they didn't serve me any longer.
Okay.
And so I intentionally went about learning new skills and trying to put in the effort to become the type of human that I wanted to be. And gratitude became a part of that, trying to look at the world through an optimistic, positive lens, if you will, not because I'm denial that bad things happen, but you have a choice on how you wake up and you start the day.
Yeah.
And I try to wake up, and the first thing I do when I open my eyes is thank God.
Yeah.
And start off with a practice of gratitude and just thanks, whether it's, hey, I woke up today. Thank you so much, God. Or I love looking out the window next to my bed because we have the most beautiful sunrises here in the Carolinas.
Ooh.
And the pinks and purples, they're my favorite. They're so beautiful.
They are really pretty.
So it's really easy when I open my eyes and I just look out the window and I see that to be grateful and say, thank you, God. What a beautiful day.
So has your practice always been one where it's like a verbal practice, or did you do written?
It's always verbal for me. I'm a talker, Jenny. I mean, let's face it.
You don't say.
I talk to myself a lot and I talk to God a lot, in my mind, whether I'm in the windshield, brushing my teeth in the mirror. I spend a lot of time trying to feed my brain positivity because I have struggled with depression through different points of my life. I was never officially diagnosed with postpartum, but I suspect looking back now that I did have some of that as well after Ben was born. And it lasted through when Mel was born as well. They're 2 years apart. And I can remember a time when Mike was working nights and I was alone with these kids all day long, all by myself. And I couldn't force myself to get up and get out of bed. And I can remember when Mike would go to work, he would bring and sit next to the bed like a cooler with bottles and food and snacks for me and the kids for the whole day. And it was like that for a couple years before I finally dug myself out of it. Yeah. And I don't know how it happened, when it happened. It was really slow and over time. And it was just trying to crawl out of that darkness, which is one of the reasons we call this Do It Ugly, because your successes in life are not always going to be huge leaps and huge successes.
Right.
Sometimes it happens so slowly and gradually over time. You can only measure it by looking back in huge chunks, like months or years. But slowly, somehow, I managed to get up and get out of bed and start making it down to the living room. It was a really long, hard journey. Now I can tend to feel or know when something is about to happen, like when the depression's coming on, and I can brace myself and try to fight it off a little bit more. I'm a little bit better at that, and haven't had something like that happen to me now for several years, but I can feel it coming on. And there are still times when it's a day or two when I just need to stay in my bed. It's too much for me. The sensory overload of leaving the house and going out into the world just feels so overwhelming and too much.
Yeah.
And I just need to stay in my cocoon, but I can't let it get deep and dark. I know I can't. I have to force myself up and out. And I'm better at reaching out to people and asking for a little bit of help. I'm better now at picking up the phone. And like, if I call you, you can just hear in my voice that I'm off.
Oh, immediately.
I'm lucky enough that now I have a circle of people around me that know me well enough to know when it's happening and to help me pull myself out of it.
But you find that gratitude is a big piece of that still.
I do, absolutely. If you know me, you've probably heard me say, what you think about, you bring about. And I truly mean that, because when you think about getting your mindset straight and how you see the world and being grateful, it impacts me and my day and what I'm able to go out and accomplish.
I love that. I love that you've created a self practice of being able to pull yourself out. Because the truth is, no matter how great your circle is, some days you are going to have to be the one to kind of, crane yourself out of it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I love about a written practice, I know you don't write, but I do encourage you to try it, and I'll tell you why. Because a written gratitude practice does something that a standard daily practice will not, and that is it forces you to dig deeper. And so I used to keep a gratitude journal, and this gratitude journal had like 100 lines on it. Once I got past, I'm thankful for my house, I'm grateful for my health, I'm grateful for my family, my healthy kid, my job, whatever the things were that are just the obvious things that I'm grateful for, it required me to dig so much deeper. And so going back to how it saved my marriage was the person who called me out on it was like, I want you to journal a gratitude list on your husband every single day for 30 days.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And so in doing that, I had to dig way down. And it would start like, I'm grateful he didn't look at me today. It was really like that. But what it eventually became was, I'm grateful that he took out the trash, or I'm grateful that he washed my car for me today, or I'm grateful that he, held the baby for a few hours so I could sleep when it was in that period of our, so there were so many things, but it just caused me to push so much deeper. Mm-hmm. And I think we get really easily caught up in surface gratitude. And surface gratitude doesn't dig down into the joy. It's easy to say I'm grateful for the fact that I woke up today, which is a great one. I'm grateful that I have a house. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm also an overthinker. Okay. So I tend to dig deep and overthink on things that I probably shouldn't. It's a normal practice for me to go deep. I also have terrible insomnia. So when I'm laying in bed, especially in the middle of the night when my brain is whirling, it's going deep, and I'm thinking about things like that and trying to pick out, I guess, areas of my life where things maybe aren't perfect. Like you said, maybe marriages goes through ups and downs. So when we're on a down slump, I'm thinking a lot about our marriage. I'm thinking about Mike, and I'm trying to remember all the things I love about him, the good things about him. And that practice of remembering the good instead of focusing on the bad helps pull me back into a place of patience, gratitude, and love. Yeah. Right? Because if all you're thinking about is the bad stuff, you tend to perpetuate what you're looking for.
And it just becomes a magnet, and suddenly you've attracted bad stuff over and over.
Right. You're in this perpetual loop that's really hard to get off of once you get on.
It's so amazing how gratitude just seems to, when you really root yourself in it, it's a game changer.
It is.
It's an absolute game changer.
It is a game changer. And we all know people, when you interact with them, they just feel like pure sunshine and joy, right? They're just exuding all of this amazing happiness from every cell in their body, and a light, right? And when you talk to those people, I have found that they are rooted in gratitude.
For sure.
And then conversely, we all know people that when you see them, they always have a story. Something's always gone wrong.
It's never enough.
It's never enough.
That's right.
And they just are like energy vampires. Oh. And no matter what you try to say to them, that's falling on deaf ears.
There's also a little bit of a fine line where it's like, learn how from a place of gratitude, you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of time with those people, but you also don't have to cut them off at the nose. You definitely want to level up your circle. You want to make sure that you're in rooms with people who are grateful and talking about things like gratitude and multiplication and abundance mindset, but also be okay just letting those other people know if you've, let them out like, hey, I'm not going to see you every day.
Yeah.
Be free to set boundaries.
Sure.
I love you, but just know that I'm thinking of you and I'm praying for you. And if they can't understand that, then you just, walk away.
I do believe everything happens for a reason, and it is part of his divine plan. Don't always understand in the moment why that's happening, but hindsight is 20/20, right? there's people in your life that become best friends because you've gone through school together, or you're through, you're in sports together, or you're in a certain thing together, and space brings you together. And then over time, you're still friends because you've done so much together. You have so much history together. And then maybe you wake up one day and you realize we don't have anything in common. I'm not mad at you. There's nothing wrong, but you just kind of walk away.
Yeah, but I think in those instances, women would do each other a big favor if they would be honest about that conversation.
Yeah.
Like say, you know what, I really love you. We've had some great times. We're just not on the same path now.
It's interesting you say that. I have never had a friendship before you where it's been a good thing to try to sharpen one another. Typically, I don't like confrontation at all. And I'm the type that I'll just walk away. I'll just disappear like ghost, and you'll be like, what happened to that one girl I used to know? I don't know.
You do the
She
Irish
just
goodbye? Is that what they call it? The Irish
went
goodbye?
away, and I don't know whatever happened to her.
Where you just disappear in a crowd and you're just gone?
That's me.
Okay.
That's me. Our friendships just, there's no escalation or end. It's just like gone.
A couple of things that I've noticed in female friendships, which are intensely difficult compared to being friends with men, or the way that men are friends with each other. And I think a lot of it is because women put way too much pressure on a friendship. Like I have some amazing girls that I went to high school with.
Okay.
We were like besties in high school, had a fabulous time together, went off in our separate directions for college. Now I barely talk to them, but I guarantee you with my whole heart and my whole life that if I called any one of them right now and said, I'm in dire straits, I need you, they would hop in the car and they would come. Women have to stop putting the expectation on people that they have to treat you a certain way, or they have to show up in your life a certain way. If they're just good people and you can call them if you ever need something, or if you want to bounce something off of them, it doesn't mean you have to talk every day. It's okay. I have girls that I haven't talked to in 3 years. And same thing, if I call them, I know they would come. And I think there's value in that. Let's just be grateful that people are in our lives in the version that they are. Like, if there's somebody who is not the person that you trust with your deepest, darkest secrets, but there's somebody that you can have a great time going to have a cocktail with, appreciate that person for what they are.
Sure.
Like we don't have to put so many expectations on people and require them to be certain things in our life to really enjoy and love on them, and just let them be in our space, in the season that we're in the space or capacity that they're able to be in. I think if women really understood that and they just relaxed, like, because there are so many women that I talk to that are so desperate for friends. And I'm like, gorgeous, if you would just look around, there are a ton of women who adore you and love hanging with you. It doesn't make you a lesser person or that they don't like you because they don't call you to go to the movies on the weekend. They might have a million things going on. Like I barely have a social life. My kid looks at me and says, hey, mommy, here's what we're doing. And I squeeze those things in between the two companies that I work with, Hype Girl and Legendary. So we just have to be better about that and just be grateful, right? Going back to gratitude again, just be grateful for who they are and how they add value to your life. But side note, make sure that you have a circle that's valuable.
Well, I think that there's different types of friends in my life, right? There's like the inner circle sisters, and then, you go out in rings from that all the way out to acquaintances. But I think it's okay to share expectations for a friendship. I mean, there's something to be said for maybe the outer rings of people that aren't as close to you to have a more casual relationship. But if you're having really close friendships, sisterhoods with women, I think it's okay to say, this is how I communicate. This is when I'm mad and pissed off.
But those are different. Those are like,
these are conversations I want to have right away, or
Yeah.
I need space to go cool off before I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, but here's the difference. So I agree that if you're like you and I, you fully understand that you have permission to call me out on my shit. I have permission to call you out on yours, because it's our job as friends and sisters to sharpen each other.
Yes.
We're not going to allow each other to live under the capability and capacity of who we get to be or who we can be, who God created us to be. We're just not going to do it.
No, we're
'Cause
going to
there's too
make
much
each other
potential.
level up.
But that said, 99% of women, when they are trying to form friendships, there is none of that. The spirit is so weak, and women are so unable to take criticism and feel like every time somebody says something that feels a little uncomfortable, they don't like me, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And in fact, that's not the case in many times. They're just trying to, share something that might even in fact make you better. But women don't talk that way. They don't talk like, hey, How many women have you spoken with that you said, hey, I expect that you're going to sharpen me? And
Never. I've never had those conversations before you. And I appreciate that so much because honestly, I don't know if anybody's cared enough to have those conversations with me. And that's the way that I look at it, that you love me enough to call me on my shit and to say, you're better than this, level up.
No
and
doubt.
I appreciate that
No
about
doubt.
you.
And you get mad at me. And then I'm like, bitch, are we good? Or we need to talk this out? Because that's the other thing, right? Like friends don't.
I need a minute to process.
That's what I mean. Yeah. You feel things really, really deep. And because you're a very emotional being. And I know that about you. And I know when you're pissed at me. I can 100% tell.
Hell, I don't say anything to you.
You don't have to say anything to
I
me.
give you the silent treatment.
The air is thick. That's a good friend when you know that somebody can pick that up about you. And you know I never let it rest.
I know.
I'm like, if
you
you're
pick that scab.
I do. I'm like, if you're mad at me, let's talk about it. Because life is too short. When my brother died in 2008, he was 37. He was 3 days away from his 38th birthday. Just dropped dead. Like that was it. And I vowed that I would never waste time again on bullshit. I'm just not going to do it. Life is too short and we only get one run and I'm just not going to do it. And I want real relationships that are valuable and that I know we're going to do fun and cool things together and have interesting experiences and do all these, unique things. So, but going back to the expectation piece, if women just would stop putting expectations on women that they haven't had those conversations with.
Oh, yeah.
Like stop doing the thing I hear women say all the time, which drives me crazy, is nobody's a friend to me the way I'm a friend to them. And I'm like, first, there's a couple things. Let's unpack it. One, do you know what their love language is compared to your love language? You two might not even speak the same language. You might speak Klingon and they might be French. Like you got, oui, oui. But you know what I mean? So they don't have the conversations about how do you feel loved? What does having a friend mean to you? What does that really look like to you? Because if you say to me, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, Jenny, I want you to be my friend, but I need you to call me 3 times a day. I need us to do at least 15 activities a month together. We need to have cry sessions.
They're not even getting a return phone call.
Girl, they are not even going to get in the door because I'm like, I don't even get to pee alone. I haven't peed alone in 12 years. Okay. So like, I don't even get my schedule. I don't get time with me that much. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like if women learn that lesson, the second I stopped putting expectations on other people and just allowed them to be who they are and enjoyed them for their company and really appreciated what they bring to me. When I tell you that's an absolute game changer, it's been a nominal game changer. I can't even tell you how much I just appreciate connections more. Yeah. I'm not hurt in the same way because I'm not carrying baggage that doesn't belong to them or me. So give our beautiful ladies like 3 gratitude tips. If they don't have an active practice, if they're not doing gratitude or they feel like they want to anchor themselves there, because ladies, I promise you it will change your entire existence. Yeah. Give them your top 3 like tips, practices, things you say, whatever.
It has to be, for me, an intentional practice over time where you need to catch yourself when you're saying something that's negative, that's not serving you well. You need to catch yourself, slurp it back, rephrase, reframe, and try again. The more you do that over time, it will become habit and it will become natural. And your speech, your language, the way you interact with the world will just naturally become more positive and from a place of gratitude. That's what it's about for me, is giving yourself grace, not being afraid to try again.
Okay. My 3 things would be 1, spend time in the quiet with God and in a real focused way. Just look around and really eyeball the things and the people and the happenstances in your life. There's something good in there. Like I'm sitting here in our studio right now and I'm in deep gratitude that we're here recording for the first time on our own equipment. I'm in deep gratitude that I'm here doing it with somebody that I care so much about. I'm in deep gratitude that the fan is on because it was hot as Hades in here. And like, that seems like a funny thing, but for real, it feels so good in here. So whatever those things are that are going on in your life, it is going to get better. It's time, distance, and action will make it, you can make a complete shift, but there's something to be grateful for.
God, thank you for the fact that I'm awake and alive today.
No doubt.
And maybe that's all that you can feel happy about. And that's okay. You can start there. But then try to look for the next thing and the next thing and build, right? Hope makes me happy.
All right. Well, this is running long, so we got to wrap this up. Ladies, we love you so much, and we know that a gratitude practice will absolutely shift your life. So do us a favor as you're listening to this episode. Follow us on Instagram. We're also on YouTube, but leave us a comment and let us know, how it's going. How's your gratitude practice impacting you? Have you shared it with someone else? Because it is absolutely life-changing. And so we just want to have a conversation with you. We love you, ladies. Thank you so much again for listening.
Stacy and Jenny, out! Thank you, producer Mike.